seems like a pair of absolute weapons-grade narcissists.
What he's alleging is true. She sounds like an absolute nightmare.
This woman, this mad hatter who no sane man would go near with a 10-foot barge pole, it is so offensive and so ridiculous.
Yeah, well, you really went for it.
That's always awkward. And you're like, hey, hi, nice to meet you. Can I grab your neck? Like,
But really hard.
Not because I want to, because I feel like she would.
Remember we kept going like...
Tried to sexually harass this woman, this mad hatter who no sane man would go near with a 10-foot barge pole. It is so offensive and so ridiculous. I mean, I urge him.
Oh, honey, grab your wine and buckle up because Piers Morgan just tore through the golden fairy tale we all believed in, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. You know, the Hollywood darlings we all wished we could be? That dream, shattered, gone, over. Because what Piers just dropped live on air? It wasn't just gossip, it was a full-on scandal, earthquake. He's calling out lies, child exploitation, and career sabotage. And it's not just about Blake or Ryan, it's about every single fan who bought into the illusion.
I truly don't think they realize how reviled they are. I don't think they realize they're losing.
From the outside, they're perfect. The power couple of the decade, the teasing Instagram posts, the red carpet laughs, the cute jabs and hand-holding. They've built an empire on their quirky love. But according to Piers, that whole vibe might be faker than a $3.00 bill.
It's literally their job to pretend they're funny. Piers even quoted a former staff member who said, "You can't even mention what cereal they eat without legal clearance." Imagine that. You're pouring Cheerios and someone's getting sued. That's the level of control we're dealing with.
If they did something that...
Because get this, Piers claimed they don't even come up with their own joke. Their public romance? Scripted. Like literally written by professional screenwriters. Even their cereal choices are vetted by lawyers, he snarked. And suddenly, everything, their picture-perfect vibe, the cutesy banter, starts to feel a little too perfect, doesn't it? And when Piers says something like that, people listen. Fans started combing through old clips like digital detectives, realizing just how polished everything is. Spontaneity? Please. These two are running a full-blown production disguised as a marriage. Calculated candids, PR-perfect blunders, lovable sarcasm. Every move is part of the script. They're not just Hollywood's favorite couple, they're Hollywood's best performance. And if it's all been one long con, we're not just questioning them, we're questioning ourselves.
Hijacked the movie, and when she didn't get her way, she brought her much richer, more successful and powerful husband into...
But this fantasy started crumbling the second Blake stepped onto the set of It Ends With Us. And when I say she caused chaos, I mean she hijacked the production like it was her own personal therapy session. Piers said she took over everything, rewriting scripts, firing staff, controlling wardrobe, even pushing people out of key decisions.
It's all part of a playbook. And that's not parenting. That's exploitation with better lighting. And if you thought Blake's behavior was bad at home, just wait till you see her on set. Let's talk about It Ends With Us, or as I like to call it, it ends when Blake says so. Because this woman went full dictator mode behind the scenes, trying to hijack the entire movie from the actual director, Justin Baldoni.
This is an actress that was hired to be in the film, and yet she's asking the director, who's also her lead, for the cuts and the edits, and she's decided to take over the wardrobe, and she gets to choose her wardrobe and they pay for it. That's unprecedented. No one's ever heard.
Insiders told Piers she ran that set like a one-woman dictatorship, and the person stuck in the blast zone? Justin Baldoni. Director, co-star, and eventually the enemy. He tried to keep things professional, but she bulldozed right over him. What should have been a heartfelt adaptation turned into a backstage nightmare.
And while she said it was something her character would do, the internet quickly reminded her that if the roles were reversed,
then boom, everything hit the fan. Baldoni, exhausted and cornered, filed a lawsuit, alleging that Blake sabotaged the production, created a toxic work environment, and wrecked the creative integrity. And baby, that lawsuit, it might just be the key to their entire downfall.
Accused him further with more lies. However, in the amended lawsuit, Blake mentioned 2 other actresses whom Justin harassed on set.
Because then Ryan got involved, and not in a sweet, supportive hubby way. Piers claims Ryan went full PR hitman, launching a secret campaign to smear Justin, whispering doubts to execs, making sure Justin looked like the problem. This wasn't loyalty, it was damage control. Ruthless, cold, and calculated.
Insurmountable. It seems like this case cannot be settled.
So, what do you do when your mask starts to...
The sealed lawsuit reportedly contains damning evidence. emails, screenshots, behind-the-scenes messages showing Blake's diva behavior and Ryan's manipulative spin doctoring. If that file ever leaks, it won't just end a film, it might end their careers.
By the sounds of things, got completely shafted in this one, so if all of this is true, he's 100% justified in suing her.
And the receipts?
And yet, fans still see the Instagram perfect fairy tale. Blake in flowy gowns, Ryan with that cheeky smirk. But behind the lighting and the filters, there's ego. There's control. And a marriage so micromanaged it's starting to look like a full-blown business merger.
To the kind of stunt that Blake Lively and her husband have pulled, now apparently in conjunction with Taylor Swift, who has oddly decided to distance herself from the couple, which is an interesting development.
Now let's talk about the kids, because this part, it hits different. Blake and Ryan preach privacy for their daughters, but somehow, those girls always show up just when a scandal brews.
On top of the list is the accusation of being a homewrecker who destroyed the marriage between Scarlett Johansson and Ryan Reynolds. But even though some still believe this to be mere speculations, it's a bombshell when you see how Blake and Ryan were all over each other on their press tour for Green Lantern when Ryan was still married.
Piers called it exactly what it is, emotional blackmail. Oh yes, he went there. Every time a PR disaster hits, bam, a story about their kids pops up. Blake facing backlash for overpriced Betty Buzz drinks. Here comes a sweet daughter named the Flavor anecdote. Ryan under fire for pandemic jet setting. Suddenly he's reading bedtime stories on FaceTime. Morgan slammed them for using their own kids as shields. Not overtly exploitative, no. Worse, subtly, strategically, soft enough to melt public opinion, and it works every single time. The media swoons, fans cheer, and the scandal quietly dies. It's not parenting, it's manipulation disguised as parenting. Their kids aren't fully seen, but they're never fully hidden either. Just enough exposure to keep fans hooked. It's not privacy, it's branding. But what if the whole love story, the very beginning of Blake and Ryan's romance, was fake too? Piers says the foundation of their relationship is a giant glittering LIE. Everyone knows the story. They met on Green Lantern, didn't date until Ryan divorced Scarlett Johansson. Sweet, right? Perfect timing? Wrong. Morgan says they were already seeing each other while Ryan was still married. According to Morgan, there's proof. Emails, photos, even voice notes that were quietly scrubbed from the internet. The media didn't find them because they were buried deep. But in Hollywood, people talk. People remember. Those just friends moments between takes, allegedly late night meetups, secret hotel visits, whispered conversations off camera. By the time Ryan signed those divorce papers, Blake was already his everything. But to the public, it had to look clean, squeaky, serendipitous. And the cover-up? Brutal. Publicists, lawyers, tech teams, all scrubbing history, wiping tweets, cleaning Google, silencing blogs. Even blind items got pulled. Scarlett? She never said a word, but sources say she was blindsided. Now, as all this resurfaces, fans are questioning everything. If the love was a lie, what else was? Because in a world where perfection is power, even a fairy tale can be toxic when it's built on betrayal. And then there's that moment. Blake giggling on late night TV, telling the world how she grabbed a co-star's butt during an improv scene. The crowd laughed, but now? Nobody's laughing. Morgan put it plainly, if a man told that story, he'd be canceled, blacklisted, finished. But Blake, blonde bombshell in couture, smiling sweetly, she gets a pass. And baby, that's the problem. Social media is dragging that moment out of the vault. People are asking hard questions. The man she touched never even commented. Maybe he was scared. Maybe he knew speaking out would end his career, not hers. Now insiders are whispering, it wasn't even spontaneous. That story, scripted. Morgan ended that segment with a truth bomb. Hollywood protects the beautiful, the charming, the marketable. But harassment is harassment, and nobody should be above decency just because they make us laugh. And then there was the donut shop disaster. Yes, the sweet support local story that went viral. Piers claims it was a PR stunt gone horribly wrong. Blake Lively popped up at a small Connecticut donut shop, posing behind the counter, smiling for fans, handing out sugary treats like a daytime talk show angel. Social media devoured it. Headlines were glowing. But what no one knew? That visit almost destroyed the business. Piers says once Blake left, the health department walked in. The shop got slammed with violations, overcrowding, contamination, storage issues, all triggered by the media circus Blake brought with her. Fans packed in shoulder to shoulder, regulations went out the window, and the shop shut down for an entire week. Insiders said it was chaos, people shoving, flashbulbs everywhere, employees overwhelmed. What should have been a heartwarming moment turned into a logistical nightmare. And Blake? Gone. Poof. She vanished after the photos were snapped, leaving the owners to clean up the mess. Morgan laid it bare. Blake used that shop as a prop, for her image, for her brand, and when the consequences rolled in, she didn't lift a finger to help. For the owners, it was a disaster they never saw coming. Instead of bringing long-term success, her visit brought Yelp trolls, health violations, and a reputation they're still struggling to rebuild. Blake's support cost them everything. So what are we left with? A burning question. Was any of this ever about kindness, or was it all branding? Because Morgan believes it was never genuine. It was a pit stop on the Blake Lively PR tour. And when things went south, she moved on. No apology, no statement, no help. To fans, this moment felt like betrayal, a wake-up call that not every feel-good story is real. Blake may have returned to her glamorous life, but for that donut shop, the fallout still lingers. And this isn't just about one scandal, one lawsuit, or one awkward interview. Piers Morgan is exposing the entire empire, the kingdom Blake and Ryan built with smiles, sarcasm, and suspiciously perfect timing. A brand that sells the illusion of imperfection. A brand that made millions convincing us they were just like us. But now, the curtain's been pulled back. The cracks in the facade are no longer hairline, they're gaping. And Hollywood is paying attention. Studios are pulling back. Directors are reconsidering, because no one wants to gamble on a golden couple with a crumbling reputation. And it's not just the movie industry backing off. Big brands that once begged to work with Blake and Ryan are suddenly going quiet. Contracts are being reevaluated, campaigns shelved. Executives are asking, is this really worth the risk? But perhaps the most devastating shift? The fans. The very people who adored them, who reposted every Valentine's Day photo, who laughed at every roast tweet, they're starting to turn. The blind loyalty is fading, replaced by suspicion, anger, and disappointment. And Morgan? He's not pulling punches. They built an empire with deceit, he said. With charm, sure, but also with manipulation. And lies don't last forever. Eventually, masks slip. The red carpet smiles, the late night jokes, the soft focus photos of bedtime books and baby toes. Fans are now scrutinizing every pixel. Every smile feels staged, every post rehearsed. In the social media age, celebrities aren't just actors, they're content creators, storytellers, curators of the illusion. And no one played the game better than Blake and Ryan. But now that game, it's falling apart. For years, they sold us the fantasy. Goofy, wholesome, in love with your best friend perfection. And we bought it, we reposted it, we wanted to be it. But now the blueprint is cracked. The perfect couple is being exposed as the perfect con. With Piers Morgan's bombshells still echoing, the narrative has shifted. What was once seen as magical is now suspicious. Behind the curated content lies a shadowy trail of manipulation, backroom whispers, and moral rot. Because this wasn't just a happy couple making the most of fame, this was a system, a strategy, a business plan built around love, kids, and control. Their fairy tale wasn't just exaggerated, it was engineered. And the scariest part, it worked. Until now. Now the cracks are too wide to ignore, the lies too big to hide, and the consequences, they've only just begun. What once felt like the ultimate Hollywood love story now feels like a cautionary tale, a warning that when you package perfection and sell it to the public, eventually someone's going to peel back the wrapping, and when they do, what's left behind might be uglier than anyone expected. Because at the end of the day, Blake and Ryan didn't just risk their reputations, they risked our belief in realness. And Piers Morgan, he just lit the match.